Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 4 race starts. We're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4.
And she's looking like she is, and she wants to make a real race of it today. She is taking it out and taking it out hard already.
There are 2 riders who have got the gap going over the top. They've got 5 seconds on Salazar, 7 on Pablo. It's 11 to Bernard and 46 to Myra Madeira. Category 2 and Category 3 are together, and this is when we see confusion. This is when we see the riders have to pay attention, but also we could see Category 3 riders trying to jump on board with Category 2, and it's happened at a perfect time here.
Rebecca Gilson moving forward. She's still holding that pace. She's still holding that same time trial pace. Now behind, the pack have all come back together. They're powering on up this climb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders still in this leading group at 32.1 kilometers. Agudelo Reyes is taking us into the finish line. Manuela Sanchez is in 2, but Agudelo Reyes is pushing hard, and she is going to be your winner today.
Hello and welcome. It's our monthly final here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. The end of May is upon us, and we are into flaming June, as the saying goes. And burning away hot into the studio, it is Emma Martin. Emma, we've had 3 cracking qualifiers that we've had great fun putting words to, but this promises to be something else.
Oh, absolutely. And that is an introduction by half. But it is indeed the final today. We've seen some cracking racing across some really different courses throughout May. And the course today, well, it's a traditional course back in for the final. So we are heading out and about today. 35 kilometers of racing for the women today, 425 meters of climbing, 2 main climbs today. The first one coming at 4.3 kilometers, but that little kicker before it at 2.5k, that you need to watch because it's 9.6% that kicker. And then we roll into our Category 3 climb, and we've got a mountaintop finish today. That checkered flag is at the top of that climb. It's 4.8 kilometers long, but take a look at those kickers. Not only does it go up, it also goes down. This is an exceptionally technical climb for the finish today.
It is, and getting the pacing right and knowing how to modulate your power is going to be key. We expect to see this break up. Well, I certainly do. I'm on that first section. I agree with you. That first climb is going to be critical. It's not a massive gradient, but it is quite steps. And then there is chance of a regroup because of the rolling summit top before we then make our way in and through. That central section could be quite quiet, but if there's a breakaway, they're going to have the work cut out, aren't they? Because they do have quite a lot of climbing to do.
Absolutely, and it is going to be a really interesting race today. Now, we have our 7 segments along the way. Now, those are discrete timed segments that give us some indication of the racing and some indication of the tactics along the way, and often very interesting to see what is going on in each of our 4 categories.
And for information only, no prizes for the riders there. But we do have our team competition because it is final. So top 5 riders individually and top 5 teams in each of our categories are going to be in line for prizes. So let's take a look at our riders in category 4. They're going to be our first of our riders away. They are in the red, and they will be taking us onto the course first. They're lined up in the pens here, and it's great to see the return of our teams. Absolutely love Team Week.
Yeah, it is. It adds something different to the racing, doesn't it?
It does. So we've got the What Ladies team and the ENECM team. Highlights on this race field because we've got some of our real regulars in here.
Yeah, we do indeed. So Jose Gallego is in here for the ENECM team. Salazar, Pablo, Burnett, Barco, Ossa, and Vink. Now that is a serious combination for What Ladies. Every single one of those riders has finished in the top 5 at some point this month.
So potentially the What Ladies race to lose in that team competition. Let's see what's going to happen as we hit our screen. So here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, our finals for May. It's the first of our categories. It's category 4 who are up and running, and away they go. So here we are. This is when it's going to count. We are in with Bernard as they come out from the start, kicking out at well over 200 watts to make the way out on to the course. Nobody wants to be left behind, and this field up and racing for team prizes, racing for those individual prizes here in Lula.
So they are out and they are on the course. We're in with Kirchner at the moment. The pack are all away at the moment. A little bit of a stretch on that because you can see we instantly go from the start pen into a slight gradient. This is continually changing. There is no real flat section on this start today. So we come out of the pen, there's a slight gradient. It levels off then for a little while before we get to that 2.5 kilometre mark where it really starts to kick. That first main climb on this course coming at 4.3 kilometers, but it just keeps giving this course today.
It does. It's a real good racer's course. I always think there are courses that are good to ride and they're lots of fun. And there's courses that are great to race and to watch the racing on. You can see our leading group of category 4 riders already starting to pull out some serious speed here. So the lead group at the moment already starting to make the way down the dip, the precursor to the first of our steps on the way up. There's a slight step that comes in before we hit our 4.3k, that 2.5k little step ramp number 1, and we are about to start to make our way in towards it. It's still going to be long before we get there. At the rate these riders are going, nearly covering 1 kilometre already, in with Gallego. And Gallego's an interesting rider, isn't she? Because we know that she can perform on the climbs. We know that she can perform well, and at the moment Gallego, one of our regulars on the Sunday Race Club.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, she's had 2 5th places this month, and that first one was indeed in Colombia. If you remember back to qualifier race number 1 in May, it was we headed to Colombia that week. I was going to say that month, but no, that week, and she performed really well there. So interesting to see what happens today with her and this category 3 climb that comes towards the end of this race field today. So this group really holding together at the moment, and they're moving at a steady pace now. They've settled down into this race since they've come quite hard out that start pen to pick up that momentum, pick up that speed, and now it is Gallego tightly in that pack, currently on position 3. Sarasuk leading the group out at the moment. Madeira is there as well, and De Gracia. They're changing the lead on that group as they continue to rotate through and take a pull on the front. So this pack working really well together at the moment, 1.3 kilometres into this race.
So you can see our riders all wearing the red jerseys of category 4. The individualization of that is done by changing your bike, changing your shoes, changing your socks, your helmet to a cap, changing your hair color, and obviously the features as well. And it's well worth jumping onto the YouTube channel. Have a watch of the video how to personalize your avatar and change your bike kit. Jeff doing a great job with that, explain it on there. And then you can spot yourself when you're out and racing or riding on MyWhoosh, and just as importantly, we can keep an eye on you as well. So we're watching Ella Vink at the moment. Ella, one of our regularly strong riders, one of our breakaway riders, and a rider that we know is likely to figure when things start to get hot. But will she be in the thick of the action today?
Yeah, and the personalization of the avatar, Matt, is one of the things that teams will do as well. You know, they'll pick a particular sock or they'll pick a particular cap, and just to make their teammates easy to spot as well.
And that works very, very well. And I'm sure you regularly, as director sportif of esports teams. You're there giving out that advice to the riders, and definitely a tip from the top there. Now, let's see if our category 3 riders, well, they are aware of just who their teammates are. They're on the left of your screen. They're going to be our next group of riders away. So, category 4 in the red hit the start of segment number 1. Category 3 are ready to go. And again, lots of teams in here. And we've got some really key contenders in here. We've got Team Golden Light back with us as always. We've got the Strong Fast Girls in here, Strong Women, and the Real Deal team.
Well, and for me, Matt, this is absolutely open today because we've seen 7 riders this month progress from category 3 to category 2, which leaves this field not just for the individual competition, but for the team competition absolutely open.
Well, let's see who is going to take away the prize at the end of the day.
So we are down here on the start line with our category 3 women. They are in the blue jerseys today as the go takes place. They are up, they are away, and they are out of the start pens now for the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is the May final, and our category 3 women are up and out onto the course. So it's Ochoa leading the charge off the start line at the moment. Pelagio and Molina. Lopez is there too. These women at the front of this pack getting this up to speed quite quickly. 35 kph already in 200 meters. So getting the pace nice and high really early. The pack now coming together and moving through onto this sweeping left-hand bend that really pushes them through and on to the course.
And this start is quite a smooth start for the riders. No instant gradient up or down, really, that's going to make a massive difference. It's quite quick. It's a nice downhill roll away, but it is possible to get it caught out by our leading group of riders here in category 3. Now, they look to be not going too hard here. The numbers sitting reasonably low at the moment for a category 3 ride, but that's generally a smarter tactic than going absolutely flat out from the gun.
Yeah, and we do see some of our riders really kick off the start line, almost like it's a sprint finish, and push away from the pack. Other riders like a much steadier start, and we often see a stretch on the group at the start pen. But normally within the first sort of 500 or 600 meters, the pack comes back together again. This group have gone out really steady today, actually, as you note there, Matt, and we can see that this category 3 group very, very steady. On the right-hand side of your screen, back in with the category 4 race. They are now on that first steep kicker that I said would come at 2.5 kilometers into the race, and you can see that by their pace at the moment, 28, 27, 26 kph, and the gradient currently just 1.2% as they get to the top of that first kicker on our course today.
Yeah, really interesting watching these riders going through that segment. They've gone through segment number 1 and set the marker. So our category 4 riders going through, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen the summary of the top 4 through there. With Madeira, the rider going through in the lead, 228.142. But all those riders pretty much together going through. No real-time gaps in there. But that will give us an indicator when we compare that, say, to our category 3, 2, and 1 riders as to who was pushing on through that part of the segment. So really interesting to compare those, and that's why this is such great information. And of course the segments and the sprint and the climb segments, I mean, we use those for prizes in the championships, and they were very hard fought over. Don't forget, if you haven't seen it, go back, watch the championships. Some absolutely cracking racing. You can pick up all of the coverage on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel, and do dive on, subscribe, jump on to Twitch TV, because we are going out live on Twitch TV. It's Twitch TV /MyWhoosh Live.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we would automatically assume, and never make assumptions in a bike race, that the category 1 women would be the fastest through all of the segments. And it doesn't always play out like that. It very much depends what's happening in each particular race at that point in time as to which category set the fastest time through the segment.
Indeed. Well, we are going to move up through our categories. We've done category 4. They are out and away at 3.86k, 1.8k for category 3. Category 2, our next group of riders to hit that start line and to head out now. Category 2 is an absolutely stacked field here, and in part because every single rider is a member of a team. The Beast Mode powered by Rose team, the Endurance team, the Italian Coffee team, the team from Paw Patrol as well. We've also got in the team competition the Racy Ladies, Team International, and the Union Power Girls. So every single rider in the race field in a team, teams are having to have at least 3 riders, generally having up to 5 riders. And Emma, this is going to be incredibly close.
Yeah, 26 riders on the start sheets in 7 teams. Let's remember there's prizes for the top 5. So this is going to be very competitive. And as I mentioned when we talked about Category 3, a large number of riders have progressed from Category 3. In fact, Italian Coffee is pretty much made up of entirely riders who have progressed from Category 3 into Category 2. So there are some real unknowns in here. But the endurance team with Reynard, Berio Serna, and Manuela Sanchez, for me, have got to be favourites. But I think the Union Power Girls, Olsen Bardeskaya, Higuita, and Van der Velden, are going to give them a run for their money today. But watch out, because there are some really strong riders in those other teams, and anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very tight here. Let's see who's going to take it. Away we go from the start. Category 2, hitting the roads here and making the way out on to our course proper. And this is, of course, the route that finishes off up the Alula Heritage Climb. It is a real tough finish. The riders looking to get away pretty smoothly here, Emma. And this is a bigger pack, so it's got the advantage of a better draft advantages, a little bit more draft, more riders to shelter behind, more chance to recover if you're smart and you ride it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just seen Bardeskaya tight in that pack, only doing 1.8 watts per kilo. On the front, they're currently at around 3. So it really tells you what the draft can enable you to do if you are tightly within that pack and not on the outside or the front. So some riders there getting very, very steady start, and maybe that will give them extra strength at the finish.
Well, it's like a tank of fuel. You've only got so much in there. You can try topping it up on the way through with good hydration, good feeding, but you know what? There's only so much you can do, and then you'll run out of gas.
Well,
let's see if they're going to do that.
I don't think some of these riders are going to run out of gas today, because Category 2 is one of our most competitive categories. 11 riders in the top 5, 11 different riders in the top 5 throughout May, the 3 qualifying races. And now we've got this progression from Category 3 into Category 2. I think this is going to be one of the interesting races today.
I think they're all going to be interesting.
I don't disagree, but I particularly want to see what happens in Category 2.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of taking the mickey there, because we were sat in the pre-production meeting in the offices going, right, oh, look at this Category 3, Category 4. Oh, look at Category 2, look at Category 1. And we were absolutely ecstatic. And already you can see that the pressure is on here in Category 2. Alicia Antico already stretching the legs out. 4.8 in response from Miller, who's gone over the top now. Nobody wants to let anyone go. We were on a 1.1%, 1.3%.
Look at that
this
stretch
early
on this
kick,
group.
isn't it?
Absolutely, and this is where we said some little kickers, and this isn't even the kicker we talked about in the pre-show before the start. That comes at 2.5 kilometers. This is just a small bump in the road that Alessia Antico has taken charge of and pushed on and shown how to stretch the group. Now, the issue here will be not the front of the group, I don't think. The issue will be the back of the group, and you can see that on the top right-hand corner of your screen, the satellite navigation graphic just showing you that one rider particularly had been dropped off the back of that group. Now they've squeezed on and they've come back. Now we've got another rider just being stretched at the moment with that group going again. So this for me is going to be a bit of attrition, I think, in Category 2, and we're going to see attack after attack off the front, not necessarily early on forming a small group, but making the group, as we said, or we've said before, whittling the group down one by one.
Indeed, it's going to be a MyWhoosh term that we use regularly. Whittling is to take little chips of wood off a stick to create something fantastic at the end of it by using a knife. It's an old English term, whittling down. It's probably got a derivation even earlier than that. However, it is a term that is very appropriate here, because it is about taking little pieces at a time off this group, and Antico using those small trigger points to do that on the way through. Now, new time, fastest time on segment 1 from Valentina Montoya. The Category 3 women going through in a 2:23. It was a 2:28 for the Category 4 women, and a Category 2 women hitting that same segment, so they are on the way. The last group are ready to go. It is Category 1. Another good-sized race field in here with some amazing teams. The Amazonas team, La Squadra, Crank Sisters, Fire Girls, and Risky Biscuits are just 5 of our teams in here. And you know what, Emma? This promises to be another cracker because we've got some incredibly strong riders.
It does indeed, and Golden Wheels also in the team competition, but well, I say they're on the start sheets as a team, but only 2 riders, and it's 3 to count. So yeah, 27 riders on the start sheets in Category 1, the 6 teams in total, but there's so many strong performances this month. Catherine Fua has had a 3rd place. Geraldo Arrayas, again in Risky Biscuits, has had a 2nd. Estrada, a 5th. Marin, a 5th and a 1st in the Fire Girls. The Crank Sisters with Quevedo and Manshandi, and Liliana Moreno, who's had a 3rd this month. So this is going to be a great team competition, I think, in Category 1. Again, not just a fabulous individual competition. So in on the start with Manshandi, indeed. Manshandi having a ride today for the Crank Sisters, one of the strong teams, as the clock ticks down. And away go our Category 1 riders on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's the May final, and our yellow jersey Category 1 riders are up and out of the start pen. So the push coming on the front of this group. The group just stretching out the start pens now. It's a different type of start actually from the earlier categories where we've seen the group roll out together. There's a stretch already on the front of this Category 1 race, and we're seeing Hoella. She came through at 8 watts per kilo, but now she's backed off, and Estrada comes through at 4 watts per kilo, 4.4, making sure the pace stays high, and the stretch is on that group out of the start pen today.
And it is key, isn't it? The bigger the group, the higher the category. So as you move from 4 to 3, 2, and then into 1, the more important it is to stay with that group out from the pen, because they're moving faster. They've got more draft advantage. If you are a solo rider off the back, you have an even bigger job to do when you move up through those categories to Category 1.
Yeah, and you know, there's a real technique to it, because you want to go hard enough out the start pen to stay with the pack, because you don't know how hard the other riders are going to go. But you do not want to wind it up in the start pen too early, because you're just wasting effort. So there is a real knack to timing your start effort.
There is indeed. Now, the start effort that we saw from Category 2 was very aggressive. And we have been looking, as these riders have gone out, at what they were doing through Category 1. Whilst we've been watching the start, I've been keeping an eye. Remember, we had the 2:28 for Category 4. We had a 2:23 for Category 3 on the first of our segments. It's not a 2 anything. It's a 1:55 for Category 2. That was set by Lisa Hermansen going through that first segment. Now, of course, Category 1 has still got to get to that stage, but it shows you that increase in pace. It's a very fast race in Category 2, who are on the right-hand side of your screen. That aggressive start being played out with that time.
And it's also a large pack, Matt. We talked about 26 riders going out in Category 2 today, and that draft effect will keep the momentum high and naturally set a faster pace.
So you add all that together, and that is where we're at. Will Category 1 match this, or will they not have the fastest time through Category 1? Well, that remains to be seen. So, as you can see, 4 categories all out on the road here in our May final.
Yeah, and let's just remind our viewers, the categories are not racing each other. So even though there is a 5-minute gap between each of the starts, there is no race between the categories. So it does not matter if Category 2 set a faster time through a segment than Category 1. The prizes and the competition is within each category.
Yeah, and the more that we see the racing from these riders, the more that they race on the platform, the more they will know what they need to do to be there. But there is bragging rights, of course, because if you are first over the line, you are guaranteed to be called by us pretty much as you come in through the finish. And so there is bragging rights and TV time to be had.
Well, and that is the absolute joy of the 4 starts, and the fact that Category 4 start first, then 3, then 2, then 1, because each of them get their own. I'm sort of searching for the term.
15 seconds of.
Well, it's more than 15 seconds, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. It might take me. It would take me a lot more than 15 seconds to get over the finishing line if I was racing. That's for sure.
But the joy of the Sunday Race Club is that each category gets its own airtime, And each category, the riders, we get to know the characters in each of the categories because of that. And the category 4 riders are often the leaders on the course for a significant portion of the time. Often unless that, well, and then they get caught sometimes by category 3 and sometimes by category 2 and sometimes by category 1. Very much depends on the nature of the course and how each category is racing each other as to who we see as the leaders on the road.
And sometimes an aggressive race won't result in a fast time, because you see riders sprint off and then get caught, then sprint and then get caught. And in those periods of being caught and then waiting for the next attack, the whole pace will come off. Whereas we often see when riders are sat there doing a good steady time trial pace, actually it's overall quicker. It's the old hare and tortoise fable, isn't it? About, you can sprint up all you want, but if you stop and have a kip halfway around, the tortoise is going to go past
or
you
you
and take
blow.
the win.
And that is the other thing. You've only got so many matches in the box.
Oh, is that commentary catchphrase number 1?
Ka-ching! How many shall we get in today?
I don't know, but if we see anybody with wings on the wheels, we'll definitely be getting a full house on the way through. Right. So that is a nod to one of the great commentators of all time, great Hugh Porter, who I cut my teeth commentating with. Now, just going to take a look across. You can see category 3 on the right-hand side of your screen, just hitting segment number 2. So they are well down the road. Segment number 2, quick reminder, 5.5k to 6.5k, so 1 kilometre long. Their first kilo segment, first kilometre segment they did in a 2:23. We'll see if they're going to go any quicker on this one. However, the category 1 at the moment, I think they're taking a bit of a tea break.
Well, I think you can tell from the heart rate, the rider information you can see on the top left-hand corner of your screen, that is the rider data of the rider we are currently watching, and that's the rider in purple on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So we're currently in with Gonzalez Rua. Currently, her heart rate is at 137. Now that tells me that this is a very steady ride at the moment in this pack.
Now let's give you a quick reminder. Fastest time to date before the end of that segment was a 1:55. What's it going to be now? It's still a 1:55. The top of the screen that you can see is covered in green jerseys because category 2 had that aggressive, faster start. And in fact, if we scroll down through the screen, it's going to be a long way before we actually get to a yellow jersey. I'm trying to work 25th. Out where they are. 25th. So 25. We'd have to scroll down through 3 screens to reach the first of our yellow jerseys with a 2:07. So over just that 1 kilometre, they were 12 seconds slower in category 1 than category 2.
Yeah, we said they were having a steady start, didn't we? And we said from the heart rates, in fact, Gonzalez Rua's heart rate's now at 135. So even steadier than it was about 20 seconds ago.
I'm sure mine's higher in the commentary box, actually, to be honest. Well, actually, maybe it's not.
Well, the pace is definitely...
I'm about to blow.
The pace is definitely higher in this Category 2 race. Take a look at this. Yep. So Constantine is the rider here we are in with. Camilla is on the front. Constantine into Quintero and Bardeskaya and Hermassen and Daniel are all at the front of this group, and they are stretching it. So they have just come up and over the top of our first climb that came at 4.3 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race. They are also just about to go through the end of segment number 2. Now, this has stretched the group, and we can see that it continues to stretch the group. So Constantine not coming off of the power, still sat at 3.7 watts per kilo. A little bit further down the road, somebody else who's decided to push on the pedals, that is Bernard in this Category 4 race.
It is indeed Bernard, and look at this, a response coming from Ella Vink here. They are coming in to the 11k marker, so they are fast approaching third race distance at the moment, and they're not hanging around. This course is quick to start off with, that is for sure. And at the moment, Vink and Bernard in the lead, but the rest of the group are about to make contact onto their back wheel, but they're keeping the pace high here, and this is going to do some damage. People's legs are going to be starting to burn. You're going to have a few people starting to reach the end of their normal threshold that they can hold for any length of time. Ella Vink back on the front. Vink, of course, with such a great ride in and a great championship, so looking very strong again today. Yeah. And the rider who we would expect to try and stretch this out.
Well, I thought the addition I'm going to get my teeth in. The additional distance really suited Vink because Sunday Race Club 35 kilometres normally for the women. The MyWhoosh Championships was 50-kilometre racing for the women, other than the individual time trial. And I think that additional distance really suited Vink. So Vink in one now, not far ahead, just 1 or 2 seconds up on the group, led by Salazar and De Gracia. So that is our Category 4 race. In our Category 3 race, currently coming up to 9 kilometres, it's Lenore in here with Agudelo and Molina, still a large group. Category 2 just coming up for 8 kilometres into this race, a very large pack still all together. And Category 1, just coming up for the 5-kilometre mark and still holding what is looking like a very steady pace.
I would agree entirely there as they come up through there. I think Emma's analysis really accurate on this Category 1. They are all sat in there. And you know, you can imagine, can't you? If everyone was in the same room, they'd be passing bottles around, they'd be taking a snack. Maybe somebody would take advantage to go get a quick jump off the bike, maybe go back to the team car, have a chat with the manager, because the pace is off and they know that they're going to need their energy when they come to the very end of this race. And this, I think, is playing into the hands of the other categories, certainly in terms of being the first over the finishing line, even if there is no prize money for the overall.
I think these Category 1 riders are aware of how competitive this group is today.
Oh,
you know,
they
say.
Is that a quick move off the front? It looks like there is. We've had a quick response to that. And this is someone looking now to stretch out and watch the response here. We've gone from a bunch that was like a big shoal, a big ball, and Catherine Fua has gone for this. And I'll tell you something, everybody else has been caught napping here.
Fua.
There are a number of people who are going to be paying her because they were not attentive enough, and they're at the back of this group. So Fua opened up the throttles. The chase has come, and it's Cavado and Bjarhead, and this will be really, really indicative of what we are going to see later.
And what's really interesting, Matt, Fua from the Risky Biscuits in one. It was Cavado from Crank Sisters, but marked by Bjarhead again from Risky Biscuits. So it was the teammate of Fua who was marking Cavado.
And another kick again by Catherine Fua. She dropped down to 5. She went up to 6 again, and she's toying with them at the front of this group. This put a split into the pack. There are riders behind. There's a second group down the road here, and this is really interesting. The riders behind are having to chase, and if they panic and they go too hard on that chase, they're going to find themselves in trouble. This is going to be very, very interesting indeed to see what happens. Who can stay with this pace? Are they going to lose a few people out very early on, or is this really just a way to find out who wants this?
Yeah.
Is it Risky Biscuits? Is it Crank Sisters? Which of our riders want this the most, and who's prepared to do the work?
Even the Fire Girls, Matt, you know, a number of those riders have had really strong rides this month. So it's interesting to see that it was indeed Risky Biscuits. They were the team who won Category 1 on the MyWhoosh Championships. They won that team competition. So a strong, strong team. But it is just, I think, we're going to see a lot of action today from this Category 1 race.
In phases. Steady, 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 go! Steady, 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 go! And that's it. I mean, the shouts would come if, you know, from road racing or from the track, you know, sure, somebody would shout, up, 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 up. They're on the way. You know, you'd know that you've got a rider coming through, and you would have a panic. And of course, our teams can do that. So if you are riding on MyWhoosh in the Sunday Race Club, don't forget the microphone. If you turn it on, you can hear and talk to your team only. So on Sunday Race Club, each team has their own channel on MyWhoosh. The individual riders have a channel that only individual riders can talk to. So Ferraro, Becerra, and Acevedo are all three. There are 3 individual riders in this. They can talk to each other, but nobody else. No one else can hear them, and nobody can listen in on your team channel. So you can use that as your race radio all the way through. You don't need to run another program. You can just use the MyWhoosh channel. And on Sunday Race Club, you get individual team channels. Brilliant for getting those tactics to see who's chasing, who's doing the work, who's going hard, and that's really interesting to see. Now, look at this. We are starting to see a little bit of a difference now. As we go through segment number 2, you can see the categories number 2 and category 1 are very close indeed. And Geraldo and Claudia Marin have had to chase. They are the riders who are right up there. But all of the results in here are very, very close indeed, with most of the riders coming through in the 145 to the 150 marker. We can see two riders, Acevedo and Giraldo. They've had to do some serious chasing there, and that is why I think you've seen that difference there. Now, let's jump in with category 3 here. You can just see again, fracturing and coming back together again. Surefire sign that we have got riders on the attack, and at the moment they're at 11.8k again. Now, a really interesting part of the course here, just approaching 12k, Emma.
Yeah, absolutely. So we said that it was a gently rolling course between climb 1 and the final category 3 climb, and it is indeed. You can see on that top right hand corner they were just going into one of the rises, whereas here we are now on a downhill section on the category 1 race, and you can see it's Rosario Estrada who is pushing on. Karub Cavedo is following in too. Fua is there, so is Biarhead. These riders marking the attacks that are going down the road at the moment, not wanting anyone to get away, and the damage in category 1 is being done to the back of the group. The group is being made smaller. 27 riders started. I don't think that's 27 riders anymore. But Maria Marin, Liliana Moreno, Rosario Estrada, all in here. Daniela Marin in here as well. And we need to be very careful with the Marins today, Matt, because there are a number of Marins in this group. So first name terms, riders, we will be using your first names because of the number of Marins on the start sheet today.
Yep, if we get more than one rider with the same surname, then we'll try and use the first name. There are 3 Marins in that race field, in that category. Now, just taking a look across all 4 of our race fields as they make their way in through the world here. Remember, they're all heading for that same final climb that kicks in at 30k, but big differences in distance. You can see that the category 4 are halfway to the base of the climb at 15.14k. Category 3 are at 12.5 kilometers. Category 2, well, they have just gone up to 12k covered, and we've got nearly 9k underneath the wheels. Category 1, interestingly, category 2 and 3 are very close indeed.
They are.
That gap really has come down. Categories 1 on the left of your screen and category 2 and coming up onto our screen while they're still separated, but category 2 definitely, I think, overall the fastest moving group on the road to date.
I agree with you there, and I think that gap between category 2 and category 3 is about the pace of this race in category 2, and they really are moving and moving strongly as a group. Here now the gradient is just heading upwards now at around, it's only just, but 0.6% gradient at the moment. 32 kph still coming out of this group. They are taking their turns and coming through and off on the front and holding this pace really strongly. So Daniel and Octoa Koinstanen is in here as well. So is Higuita and Barco. Daniel is there too. So really strong riding from this group, a large group in that category 2 pack. Whereas here we've got Pablo on category 4 now, another attack coming on category 4. So we're really starting to see some action here with our red jersey group. So Pablo, Vink is doing the chasing again, but she's 5 seconds back. So Pablo in 1, Vink in 2, 4 seconds down. Then it's a small gap to Madeira. Madeira and Jose Gallego are chasing with Burnett. Then another 3 seconds back to the chasing group behind. So this is all fracturing now in category 4.
And I think this could really split the group if Vink can take with her Gallego and Madero, maybe Burnett, but leave behind some of the other riders. This would really play into the hands of having a half of the what was left of that leading bunch in the front half of the half, so the front quarter, and that basically would mean that they have the advantage of numbers and speed. So will that break go clear? Well, we will have to wait and find out. Just in with category 1, who are rolling in through 10.19. They've just finished segment number 3, and we have seen segment number 1, they weren't the fastest. Segment number 2, well, they were up there or thereabouts. Segment number 3 just finishing for the riders in the category 1, and you can see that Daniela Marin has taken top spot in there, and the screen is full of yellow jerseys. In fact, as you work your way down, we have got 18 yellow jerseys in there, and very interestingly, after the very fast start, The next fastest group on the road are Category 4, then it's Category 2, then it is Category 3, and that is a reflection of the attacking nature of the riders with Madeira, Gallego, Bernard and Vink in Category 4, the second fastest on the road after our Category 1 riders.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to see now that Category 1 group, we said it was getting smaller, and it is indeed so, now down to 18 riders in this lead group in Category 1. Let's remind ourselves there were 27 riders in the start pen, so the pushing on the front has indeed lost riders off the back of the group. 24 riders in the lead group, still in Category 2, 9 in Category 3 and 8 in Category 4 going through segment number 3, but we know further down the road Category 4 is now on the attack and that group is splitting. So category number 1, category number 2, 2 large packs still on the road. This category 2 race that we're in with at the moment, they're coming up for 14 kilometres of this race done, and take a look at that. That's the lead on the category 3 race on the right hand side of your screen, and there is about 400 metres now separating these two groups. So Palacio, Ochoa, Agudelo, Jose Zabala are the riders on the right-hand side of your screen in those blue jerseys. This is the Category 3 race, and this is the lead in the Category 3 race at the moment. You can see it is one big group behind Palacio at the moment, and 400 metres behind them, so not very far behind them, is the fast-moving Category 2 field.
And just to go back to an earlier point, you can see it here with Pelaggio, red gloves with black socks and yellow helmet and glasses, really distinctive, easy to spot Pelaggio because of those red gloves. You get something that's just slightly different, and you can see that personalization there allows that difference. Very easy to spot the rider on the way through. As you can see, most of the riders have a helmet, so some are yellow, some are white, some are the aero helmet, changing the color of your bike, whether it's the yellow and black of the MyWhoosh, whether it's a white Colnago, all those different things change how you see the riders. So going to be very easy to spot Pelaggio. She's in the mix towards the final with the red gloves, little key indicator, and those visual indicators, those key indicators, really important for the riders, for us, and of course if you're watching it will make it easier if you know what everybody's wearing on the way through. Your homework for today, study what each rider wears, and then they'll change it all next week.
They will, and some riders are indeed well renowned for changing their kit and changing their accoutrements very regularly.
There is one particular rider that we know very well, who every ride we see them on wears a different set of kit.
Just to confuse the commentary team.
So Lisa Jane Lake, aka Foxy, who races very hard and is one of the strong women riders, both on esports and on the road. I don't think I've seen her wear the same kit twice, to be honest, and that's the virtual wardrobe is expansive, let's say.
It is indeed, and I like the fact that the virtual headwear is expansive, and the choice of headwear always strong in my world when I'm on esports.
Yep, definitely.
Headwear and socks.
Headwear and socks. There you go. For me, it's all about the numbers and beating other people. But there you go. If you want to focus on headwear and socks, there you go. That's probably why I actually never made it. I should have paid more attention
to headwear and socks.
Indeed. And if you are riding on MyWhoosh and you are watching live, please do send us in the pictures to @BikingEmma of whatever socks you're wearing on Sunday Race Club today.
There's a lot of white socks today. But I do like
not
the blue.
Not the avatar, no, real, what you're actually wearing on the turbo. So,
wow.
So @BikingEmma, I'll repeat that, @BikingEmma, sock pictures on the turbo, on the bike, on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and then let's flood Emma's feed with that.
Sockage.
@BikingEmma, some sockage.
Bike sockage.
Bike sockage for @BikingEmma, please, on social media. You can tag it at MyWhoosh as well. I'm sure they'll really love that. And don't put me in them in any way, shape, or form. That's @MattFixPaint, because I'd much rather see where
feel
your
free to use
training.
the hashtag socks for what?
Oh, is that not trademarked?
I don't know. I've no idea. It may
Probably
well be. Who knows? But you know, it's a bit of fun, isn't it?
Right, let's get back to the racing.
Yeah, let's do. And Estrada is the rider on the front here. Pina in 2, Liliana Moreno in 3. This pack is just continuing to move steadily here. The rider that they have in their sights a little bit further down the road is one of our Category two riders. That's Tangley, and she's 6 seconds down the road and distance from the group in front. So this will be the rider who will shortly see the pack of 18 Category 1 riders come past. And take a look at that shot. If she could only turn her head and take a look down the road behind her, she would see that large group coming, an ominous group coming towards us. So Tangley and our Category 2 rider shortly seeing the Category 1 pack as they swoop past. And now, is she going to push on those pedals and try and hitch a lift with this group? I think she is. Her power going up to 4 watts per kilo, indicating that Tangley wants a ride with this Category 1 group.
Well, if she can hold on, this is a part of the course to do that, but there is some serious pace in there, but nice response. You saw her just pick herself up and jump back into the back of the pack there. So while some of the groups are busy engaged in coffee talks, the riders are definitely paying attention to what they are on about. They are keeping an eye on the pack, and great response there from Tanglian, jumping in with the group. Now, let's look at segment number 4, the fourth of our segments. Quick reminder, this is 1 kilometer long, and again, we are seeing these Category 1 riders show that even when they are in the midst of rolling through with the relatively inactive group with just slight responses, they are still the fastest moving riders. Jenny Sanchez there coming in, she's a 0.896. In fact, Cavado 0.977. So a second covering the top 12 riders on your screens. They're very fast indeed, moving quickly and picking up riders on the way through. And that is a tactic, isn't it? If you are distance, wait, recover, and try and make sure you get caught on a point which is a downhill or a flat by any chasing group, and then it gives you a chance to hitch a lift with them on the way back through the race field.
Yeah, it does indeed, and you really don't want the pack to come past you on a climb if you want to hitch a lift. It really is a tactic that you can only use on a flat or downhill section. So Category 1 on the top left-hand corner of your screen, Category 2 on the top right-hand corner of your screen. You can still see 2 large packs. Category 3, bottom left, 17.3 kilometers, still a good group at the front of that race. And Category 4 are leaders on the road on the bottom right now, over 20 kilometers into this 35-kilometer race, and there is still a small group together. And that is interesting because we have seen attack after attack going off the front of the Category 4 race, but continually being pulled back.
Yep, they're coming back together time and time again. So just taking a look at Category 3 and Category 2. Now, Category 3 set off 5 minutes in front there at 17.7k. You can see that we have got 17.4 on the clocks for Category 2. They're coming in to the tunnels, and this is going to be really interesting to see the pace there coming at. Mina Coinsteden at the moment not working too hard by the look of it, Emma.
No, not at all. The pace seems to have backed off a lot because Coinsteden's heart rate's down to 122, which tells me that this group have taken their foot off the pedal a little at the moment. They're a very tight pack on the road, and when we last were in with this group, they had a 400-meter gap to that Category 3 group in front of them. Now, that was not a huge distance for this pack to close, but I think they've decided they don't want to close that gap yet. They do not want to come up onto that group of what at last count was 9 Category 3 riders in that group. So they seem to have taken their foot off of the power a little bit, and it's allowing the riders some recovery. Now, not recovering at all at the moment. This is another attack from Pablo off the front of this Category 4 group. We said they'd all come back together again after Pablo's last attack. It was Vink who was doing the chasing last time, and it's Vink who's leading the chase this time as well, with Madeira and De Gracia. But Pablo at the moment, 10 seconds now down the road.
Well, this is where Madeline Pablo shows that she really wants this today. There's a seriously big prize at stake. Remember, prizes for our top 5 riders. They do scale up on the way through, but every single category rewarded if you are in the top 5. And at the moment, Pablo making it hard for everyone else to having to do something about this, or maybe they won't, in which case she's going to hit that climb with some serious advantage. So Pablo working away here through Alula. Remember, that heritage climb at the end is going to really take the battle to the riders, and it is steep. And if we think about that climb, Emma, I mean, we're at 21.9k, so we're basically 22k. We've got about 8k to the start of the climb proper. Recovery time, or stretch the gap out? Is that just dependent on how you feel, or will riders have a predetermined plan that they're going to stick to no matter what?
Well, I think it's going to be very interesting because whatever plan you have going into a race, you do need to adapt because you can't just trust that your plan is the only plan that is going to work. We have seen riders lose a lot of time on final climbs. But we've also seen lone riders go into the bottom of the final climb and make it to the top still in first place. And as we said earlier, this climb is a really tricky climb. It's a really punchy climb. It's not a pick one pace and time trial up it kind of climb. It has many stepped or what look like quite jagged sections on the map. So it's going to be an interesting final 4.8 kilometers on that climb. It is an average gradient of 5.4%, but with those kickers and the drops and the flat sections, you know, some of those gradients are really nasty.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, very nasty indeed, and are going to test the rider's strength on that climb. I think that's going to be very interesting to see whether or not they are able to make this count, or whether it is going to be a case that they're just hanging on in there. Now, just watching the numbers, I can see Emma, who is, of course, qualified coach as well as a DS, looking at the heart rate numbers here. You don't get to be a professor for nothing. You look at the data, you do the thinking bit. I do this. I'm good at doing the talking bit in the tech. Emma's very good at doing the number crunching, which is one of the reasons why in the office Emma is the one generally looking at the numbers with steam coming out of her ears. At the moment, there is no steam coming out of Gerardo Arias, Emma. That is very low heart rate. We're heading for 100.
We are indeed, and currently I'm 106, 107, 108, I would say 2.8 watts per kilo we just had there, so very steady riding at the moment. Taking a look through the rest of this category one field, 2.4 watts per kilo, 2.7, 2.3 watts per kilo, 2.1 from Maria Marin. This is a very steady transitional pace coming out of these category one riders at the moment. And take a look at that. There you go. It all says it in segment number 5, doesn't it? This is the last of our 1 kilometre segments today, between kilometre 16 and kilometre 17 on this course. And the fastest time, category 4.
Get in category 4.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. That is amazing. Right, just back to the screen in front of you now. As you can see, category 2 about to make the catch to the leaders of category number 3. So 2 catching 3, and this is where expect there to be carnage. It's a bit like imagine having a box full of mice and dropping a cat in amongst them, because that's exactly what's going to happen here. You can see all of a sudden there's going to be riders going in all different directions. 1 or 2 will lose their heads on the way through. Some of them won't make it out the other side where they want to be, or in one piece, but the smart will be able to survive and use this to their advantage to get into a prime position. So here we go. You can just see the category 3 riders looking to see if they can jump in, and some of these riders are doing a really good job. Just watching here as they go through, look at the response coming here, Emma. They've jumped in with category 2. They've seen that this is a fast moving group. There are 1 or 2 category 2 riders who are going to be struggling because they weren't in the right place, but you've got category 3 riders jumping in, and this is now going to move that bit quicker.
Well, it is going to move that bit quicker, but there's also the fact, Matt, that some of these category 2 riders went in at the same pace that they were riding in that group, whereas others kicked hard. So we were seeing 5-6 watts per kilo out of some of those category 2 riders as they kicked through the category 3 group rather than just joined the back of it. And that's what we can see, because currently at the moment a number of those blue jerseys are towards the back of the field, and there is a group of category 2 riders towards the front of the field. Others are very mixed, so it's going to be quite interesting as they roll into the next roller. So we're starting to just see the gradient push on, and Koinsinen is the rider at the front, becoming 5 watts per kilo, dropping to, its pace has now come off, but Koinsinen currently around 5 watts per kilo, Miller coming in too. But we've got a real difference here by the riders still wanting a steady pace here after this catch, because I think most of this pack want to play this out on this final climb today, whereas the flattish nature of the run into it does not aid an attack.
It doesn't, and I think what we're likely to see is the explosion. So if you think back to any of the major tours where you have a steady roll for the pack coming through, then you see the explosion. It'll be very interesting to see who can make this go pop when we hit the climb. So here we go. The group's still together. They are about to hit the next gradient. It's going to go up. This is where the draft advantage is lessened, and it's about power to weight. And this is where we would expect to see the green jerseys move to the fore, blue jerseys move to the rear. That's on the right-hand side of the screen. On the left-hand side, in with Geraldo Arraiz, these are our Category 1 riders, currently approaching the 19.25, 19 quarter K marker, which means that they're not far off segment number 6. So they are making their way through at some reasonable pace, it has to be said. But, and it is a big but, I think this is going to explode. If you think about all of the tours where it's steady, you know, you have that long flatland. Think about any of the tours going out towards Mont Ventoux. It's a great example. It's really flat on the run-in. There's not a lot that tends to happen, but when you hit it, it is fireworks. And that is what we expect to see. Either riders tend to be able to go for one big pop at the end, or they go from the gun. The really hard days when it does both. And at the moment, I think what we're seeing is some pretty cagey riding, because nobody wants to let not just those prizes go for themselves, but also they're riding for their team as well.
Yeah, they are indeed. So there's a lot at stake today, not just the individual competition, but as you mentioned, Matt, that team competition too. So a huge amount of cat and mouse going on at the moment, particularly with that very technical climb coming towards the end today.
So in terms of that team competition, we've talked about it quite a bit, Emma. Just give us a brief rundown of what how it works for the riders. It is a certain number of riders in the competition to count in the team competition.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is indeed our team competition, up to 5 riders per team. 3 riders counting, which is particularly important. So it is indeed those 3 riders' times that are added together to give the overall team standing time, and that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is computed on.
So the team with the fastest 3 riders will be the team who are leading at the end, and then the time will be taken. And then if you have the second team, you basically have got a slightly slower time. You've got a longer time to complete the course for your 3 riders added together, and then so on the way through. It's not based on points or anything like that. And those prizes go out. Now, you could just see that our Category 1 riders were approaching segment number 6. What you can see from your course profile in front of you at the moment is that is a long segment. It runs basically in the 5 kilometers prior to the small green rider there. And if you look at that, it is slightly rising in there. So it's a slight rise in to the 25k marker point with 19.5 to 24.5k the rise up and through. Now, when we go on to our final segment, that is on the base of the climb. That is 30.2k, which is the start of the climbing proper, through to 33.7. So that's 1,300 meters prior to the end of the racing. And that means it will cover a lot of those really technical areas. And when we talk about technical, we're talking about that zigzag, that sawtooth profile between 30.2 and about 33.7k. It is those ups and downs, and that's where it's going to be really important for the riders to modulate how they put the power down, to be able to spin as well as push. So a rider's style that will come into play there as well.
Absolutely, and our Category 4 riders already through that segment number 6. They are the only group of riders through that segment at the moment, indicating they are still the leaders on the road. So Category 4, the riders in the red jerseys, Vink, we are watching there, the leaders on the road at the moment. Category 2 and Category 3 all together at the moment. So the leading Category 2 and the leading Category 3, one huge pack on the road at the moment. Category 1 are yellow jersey wearers, a group of 18 riders still in the leading pack.
And don't forget, these riders all racing for money in each of our categories. Our Category 1 riders, well, they have the biggest prize pool, 10,000 AED for first. It's 8,000 for second, it's 6,000 for third, running right down to 2,000 for fifth. In terms of the category, in terms of the prize money for the team, well, Category 1 team, you ready for this? 50 50,000 AED. Now, if you're not watching in somewhere that does an AED, pop it into Google. You'll find out your local translation, and then think, wow, that's big. So 50,000 for team number 1, but right the way down to 5,000 for team number 5 as well. So some big prizes at stake. And again, in category 4, that's also true, isn't it, Emma?
It is indeed, but I tell you what's big at the moment, Matt, and that is the gap between category 1 and our leaders on the road, category 4. It is just shy of 6K still today, and that gives you a real indication of the steady pace that category 1 are riding at. So Ella Vink, currently our leader on the road at the moment in that category 4 race. Jose Gallego in 2, Pablo in 3. This rider Vink just pushing on a little bit here through these bends, so it's looking like we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders in this lead group in this category 4 race.
And what's really interesting to me is how hard these riders are riding, because what you've got to remember, with 5 prizes for the top riders, we've got a group of 5 riders clear. So the battle should be between these riders. Now, it's still worth fighting in this group of 5, isn't it? Because category 4, if you're in first place, that's well over 2,100 AED. It's 430, if I remember correctly, AED for 5th place. So a substantial difference between first and 5th. So it still pays to battle. But at the moment, you want that group of 5 to stay together because you want that draft advantage right the way to the base of that climb. So it's going to make a big, big difference. They need to try and stay together, but then they need to split it, and it's when does that moment come? That's category 4 on the right-hand side of your screen. Categories 3 and category 2 leaders are together. Now, again, we ramp up in prize money. Category 3 leader, if they go over the line as the first category 3 rider, it's 3,600. For category 2, it's 6,000 AED. So now our differences between them, but of course, they are at the moment together, and this is really, really interesting to see how this is playing out, because the pace is not hot enough at the moment to shed the category 3 riders. And we said that there have been a number of category 3 moved up to category 2 this week, Emma, in the start of the show. And really interesting to see how those riders are moving in and through, but they're doing a good job at the moment, the leaders in there.
They are indeed. So Agudelo Reyes, Adriana Barco Fioroni, and Tico Quintero, Higuita, all riders moving up into category 2 from category 3. And this catch is really interesting. So now we've got 7 category 3 riders. They are the leading 7 in category 3, in with 21 category 2 riders.
Ouch.
I know. So 28 riders in total in this group. So it is indeed a big group rolling on this course. They've now got coming up for 9 kilometers left in this race.
And remember, when we hit 30.2, it is uphill to the finish, but it's not all uphill. We have that zigzag profile, that sawtooth edge to the course map, which shows you that it is going to be tough stuff for the riders if they can't change pace quickly. So here we go. The riders are moving through in category 2. Category 1 are behind, and again, a good pack of riders. Just watching Jenny Sanchez here, another rider who really has excelled. We saw Jenny initially in category 2. She's a rider who moved up into category 1 a little while ago. I'll tell you something, she's very at home here.
Yeah, absolutely. 18 riders in this leading group at the moment, and containing absolutely everyone we would expect to be here. So Jenny Sanchez is here, Fua, Quevedo, Gonzalez, Moreno, Manshandi, Pinal, Quevedo. Bjarhead is in here as well. So wide range of riders in here from a number of different teams, and all the teams we would expect to be represented still are represented. So Crank Sisters, the Squadra, Fire Girls, Risky Biscuits, all still with riders in this pack.
I'm really looking forward to see what happens when we hit that climb. That is a little while away yet. We've got just over 6 kilometers for category 1 to get there, and if you're not a climber, time running out really to do any damage. And it may well be that the riders have decided, you know what, we can't break this group. We had our chance early on with those slightly hillier section. We can't break the group. We're not going to shed the climbers. Let's just save energy and then do what we can on the climb.
And one of the interesting tactics could well have been, Matt, for one of the teams to sacrifice one of their riders early on and say, do you know what, for the first 30 or 40 minutes of this race, you just attack. And that is your race today, and then ride to the finish, because we actually need to take the sting out of those climbers' legs.
And you'd maybe pick a rider who is not necessarily going to win on the climb, but has got some serious firepower and put a decent tag out. And you never know. Okay, sometimes it pays off, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, because the rest of the pack, if they're too busy watching each other, that person who's doing all the attacking could sometimes sneak away, particularly if it's someone the pack don't think is a real danger.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree. It makes it picking your rider is really, really key, isn't it?
Absolutely, and this category 1 pack now through the end of segment number 6, so that is our first 5 kilometre segment. Well, it's actually our only 5 kilometre segment. Segment number 7 comes at 30.2 kilometres, so at the start of the climb it's a 3.5 kilometre segment, and it finishes 1.3k before that checkered flag.
So let's keep an eye on these riders at the moment. Riding in with Jenny Sanchez, 90 revs per minute. She goes in and through, and up come our results, and that is very telling indeed. Segment 6, the fastest group are in fact our riders in category 2. Emma, how far down do we have to go to find a category 1 rider?
To 29th place, actually, Matt, through that segment. So the category 2 pack, don't forget they are also with the category 3 pack, and those riders indeed are also quicker than our category 1 riders through this segment. And, you know, I'm looking at this. Manshandi set the fastest time through this segment in category 1 for 29th place, 9 minutes 14. Average watts per kilo, 2.7. You know, this
do you want to say that again?
Average watts per kilo through that 5 kilometre, 2.7 watts per kilo in category 1. Now that is very, very steady riding.
Yeah, lots of coffee talk. Maybe they stop for an ice cream.
Well, I think fireworks, I think we could call out, could potentially be the name of the game in the last 4 kilometres of this race today.
Well, let's see. Our first rider's hitting the slopes, onto the climb. It is our category 4. Here we go, and look at the gradient. It's already kicking at 12.6% round that bend. These are our 5 leaders. Remember, 5 prizes up for grabs in each of our categories. 5 riders now on to the slopes. They're racing not just for their individual prizes, but for their team prizes as well. This is going to be key. What happens on these slopes and what those time gaps are. At the moment, Vink is in here, Burner is in here, we've got Gallego in here, so that's at least 2 teams represented in the breakaway. But by my reckoning here, I make it 4 from the Watt ladies team and only 1 rider from the ENECM team.
Wow.
And that means that the riders who have the front, well, I was going to say it's 4 from the Watt ladies. It's now 3 from the Watt ladies, because it looks like Madeline Pablo just losing a few seconds here as they came over that first steep section.
Yeah, and we said the Watt ladies were going to be hard to beat in category 4, because every one of those riders has been placed in the top 5 at some point this month. Now Pablo is the rider in trouble here. She's 6 seconds back off the front, and it's Bernard and Jose Gallego who are pushing on. You know, it is Barco, Ossa and Vink from the Watt ladies who are the next riders in trouble, because it's Bernard setting the pace at the front of this race today. She's currently the leader on the road. She's currently at 31.45 kilometres into this race. She's got just over 3.5 kilometres to go.
She has, but now into one of those slight dips. You can see on the profile, it almost doesn't look like a downhill, and it's not. It's a false flag. It basically feels like downhill, but it's actually uphill slightly, and it's just because you've gone from being at 12-13% down to a 2-3%, but she's quickly back on. You can see that gradient 9.7 and climbing now up to 10%, and she's on the inside of the bend, 10.8% as she goes around the apex of that bend. Very tough stuff indeed. And Gallego at the moment is working to keep this gap down. She's got her inner sights. It doesn't look far, but it's still 9 seconds. And that's what you've got to remember. that 9 seconds on a mountain looks like no distance at all because the rider's going relatively slower. It looks like a lot further, 9 seconds, when you're on the flat or the downhill. You'd have a rider out sight. Here, riders will be in sight even if they are nearly a minute away on some of these sections. We're on nearly 12% gradient. This is tough stuff. A little bit further back down, just looking at Sarah Suck at the moment, she's just in front of the Category 2 and 3 riders who are heading her direction. She's about to hit the base of the climb, and she's going to hit that just as this group come up behind. You can see that big pack of riders, the arrowhead of riders coming behind, and this is that advantage of having that group, isn't it? They're not actually riding at a much higher watts per kilo, but they're just moving faster because of the drafts.
They are indeed, and Sarah Suck's cadence at the moment, 57 RPM, so revs per minute, very slow, which is an interesting tactic on what is still quite a flat section. So this pack now coming up, and we said this was a huge pack, didn't we? This is the Category 2 pack with the leaders in the Category 3 race. This is 28 riders sweeping past Sarah Suck as our Category 4 rider sits in the middle of that pack now. Is she going to be able to stay there? Well, if she is, it's not going to be for long because this group are very shortly about to hit the base of that climb.
And Sarah Suck doing a great job, a really amazing job there. She's jumped in with the back of the pack on that fast section, used that draft and jumped in very quickly. Now, one of the things you might be doing is sitting and using a higher rate because she's really feeling the burning in your lungs. If your lungs are hurting, then do you know what? You've got to go into a bigger gear and use some of that muscle power rather than your lungs and your fitness go through. But you can see as we've hit this slope, we are getting a separation of colours. We're seeing predominantly green jerseys on the front. They are our Category 2 riders. We're seeing more blue jerseys behind, then the red jersey behind that. And that is that natural separation between the categories that when the going gets tough on the climb, that is when you see that gap. And you see that so clearly on the top right-hand side of your screen. We're seeing Category 2 coming through, then Category 3, then Category 4. And gotta say, the riders, any riders who are in Cat 4 with this group, it's great motivation and inspiration, isn't it? Because we've got riders in Category 2 who started in Category, who've been in Category 4, in Category 3. That progression up will come. Just keep riding.
Absolutely, absolutely, it will come indeed. But you do just have to keep riding. And I tell you what, the right-hand side of the screen is lighting up with red and yellow at the moment as the power is coming out of these Category 2 riders. Currently, the gradient's at 8.9%. It's been up to 12%, and it will indeed kick again further up the road. But this just shows you how well matched these Category 2 riders are. So these Category 2 riders all still, look at the size of that group. There's not much distance between them. A number of riders may well have been shed out the back of this group, but it's still a good strong pack towards the front as the gradient just starts to level off again and we come into this false flat section. They're going to see a small rolling section, a little bit of downhill, which will allow some of the riders' distance to roll back in and pick up some momentum as we see Elodie Reynard, one of our really experienced riders with Morgane Olsen, utilize that small downhill section and push the momentum. So rather than taking a rest on those downhill sections, the riders get their cadence up and really push hard, which allows the momentum of the downhill to be useful as a kicker to slingshot them up the road once the gradient starts to go skyward again.
Yeah, really is interesting watching these twists and turns as well, putting the riders outside. And that is one of the things, once you're out of sight, you're out of mind. But I think that's less true on esports. We got, particularly on the MyWhoosh platform, we got so much information. Look at Antico here. I mean, she's trying to break a little bit of a gap, but she's being responded to. Higuita's coming across here. You can see Berrio Cerna, Olsen up there, Reynard, Hermansen. So a real mix of new and old Category 2 riders in the mix here. I think, Emma, this is going to come down to the last meter.
Well,
there you go. That's my prediction. It will come down to that last meter because there's so many strong riders, and we've got some riders in that you don't normally see, and that always throws people.
Well, you know, Category 2 often does come down to a sprint finish, but and sometimes even a sprint finish on a mountain top. We have seen that before on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Now, Alessia Antico is indeed one of our riders who has progressed from Category 3, and we saw her first ride in Category 2 was last week, and she did this at the bottom of the climb last week. She went out hard and she went out early to see how long she could last, and it didn't work for her last week. She didn't make the top 5. She was back down the race field, but you only get to know your limits when you push hard. So
You
great to
do,
see
yeah.
Antico giving it a go again, but Reynard is there. Reynard is covering the move. So indeed is Olsen and Higuita. So it's going to be a really interesting finish, I think, today in this Category 2 race.
And that team competition will start to become a little bit clearer the further up the mountain these riders go, because of course that team competition is worth some serious prize money. In Category 2, that team prize top spot is 30,000. 30,000 AED. Now, in Category 2, Elodie Reynard at the moment. At the front of that, you can see behind it's Barco, then it's Agadella, then Coyston, Higuita. They're pushing on, and meanwhile in Category 1, the rider's about to hit the base of the climb. This is the moment when you know that you're going to get in trouble if you're not a climber, because you're going to come in. You know that as this gorge comes in, the road rears up in front of you. There will be riders who are absolutely rubbing their hands with glee that this moment has arrived, and there are going to be other riders thinking, now the pain starts, and this is where it really starts to hurt. You can see Cavada with the black helmet, the white gloves and white socks and shoes there. She's right up on the front. Cavada has phenomenal sprint power. She's not a rider to sit at a pace. She's a rider to kick and attack.
And this is a climb that would suit Cavado so well today. You know, she's got that higher pace, she's got that higher power, so she's got that kick that will be really well utilized on these very, very steep segments of this climb, particularly up, down, flat, up, down, flat, up, down, and those kicks that she's got. I think this is going to suit her. I'm stamping my mark on this. I'm calling it already.
Oh, there you go. So it could well be that Cavado is the hot favourite here, because I have to say, had Emma not preempted my statement, that was what I was about to say immediately afterwards, which now means the pressure is on Cavado. However, you can't discount any of these riders up here.
No, you can't.
Because, and that is one of the great things about the racing. People like Gerardo Arias, who's on the front here, she has got it in her to absolutely wipe the floor with everybody if it is to be her day. The same Marlene Biarhead has had a fantastic season. She's improving all the time. And that's the other thing. As the riders ride courses that they've ridden, maybe in training, in practice, or maybe a pre-race before, they are going to know how it feels, where you need to put in that effort, and that will pay off. Wow. Now, Category 1 at the base of the climb. Category 4, up near the top, it is Bernard who has the lead.
Well, and the interesting thing to note here, Matt, is our last check between the leaders in Category 1 and our leader on the road. It was a 6-kilometre difference. It's now 2.8k.
And part of that is because we've gone onto the climb. So as you go, basically, if you're going twice as fast, you've got twice as much distance between you, even though the time gap is the same. The speed difference, you can see Category 1 here, they are sub 20 kilometers an hour at times, and that is because of the gradient. We're going to hit another steep section here. That's Category 1 on the left of your screen. The Category 1 leaders at 31.43, Category 2 leaders 33.25. We've got our Category 4 leader further up the road, sandwiched in between Category 3 leaders who were for a long time sitting with Category 2. But I tell you something, this battle in Category 2, it is a fight to close down Alicia Antico. Antico has got great personalization there with that red and black cap. Makes it very easy to spot Antico. It makes her life easier in the commentary box. It means that she can see herself in that group. But what she wants to do is go solo. They are on the Emma. Look at this. They've pulled her back.
Yeah, they have indeed. And it was Reynard who made the catch first with Higuita and Olsen. Barco is in there as well. So absolutely all in now in this race. This is the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Today is the May final, and in this Category 2 race, that is looking like 4, 5, 6 riders all in with a chance of the top 5.
And look at this, you saw Antico get caught. She's just kicked again over the top. She started to break clear, and she's going to hit the banner at 33.7k. And that is the end of segment 7. And that, when we look back, will give us our time gap. But look at Bernard at the moment. She's onto our long bridge. She's into the last 3/4 of a kilometre, the last 750 meters. So she knows that it's not going to be many pedal strokes until she sees the line behind. The gap is still holding, and that means that she looks like she should be claiming that top prize when she hits the line. You can see behind, the leaders in Category 2 have just moved up into 5th place on the road overall. So they only have 4 riders left in front of them. That is Vink up there. You've got Bucko, also got Galeo, and you've got Burnett at the moment. They are the riders who are in front. However, this is going to come down to who can kick for that line, who can get their pacing right in Category 2. In Category 1, it's about holding on for another 550 meters for Diane Grace Burnett. She's our rider who is leading the race at the moment. She's leading Category 4. Can she hold on to the finish? 500 meters to go. She's got Gallego about to come off the bridge behind her. The time gap, though, is at 23 seconds. Then it's going to be Barco Ossa and then Vink. And it's still nearly 1:45 to Category 2. Surely this is going to be Burnett's day.
Well, you would like to think so, wouldn't you? She's coming up towards the 500-meter mark. 500 meters to the checkered flag for Burnett. She's the leader on the road at the moment. Our Category 1 group are slowly now starting to work their way through the back of Category 2 and Category 3. They are at 32.5 kilometers, so they are now just over 2 kilometers down on the lead on the road. So Burnett now coming up for her last 350 meters. This is still steep into the finish at the moment. The gradient's still 9% for Burnett as she continues to climb, and it continues to kick. 9.3 at the moment, 9.5. It is going steeper underneath her wheels with a little bit of respite now. Respite at 7%. So Burnett continuing to move towards that checkered flag in 1. Jose Gallego in 2, 27 seconds back. It's Vink and Agudelo fighting for that 3rd place in the race. Sorry, that's Vink and Barco Ossa. That is changing continually further down the mountain. A little bit further back is indeed this Category 2 race, and that is all on at the moment with Antico, Higuita, Barco and Olsen all in there at the moment as well.
And a quick reminder, 3rd and 4th place in Category 4 is over 400 AED difference. It is well worth that fight. But the rider who is going to take top spot, walk away with 2,160 AED, take away the win in our final should be Diane Grace Burnett. She's into her last 100 meters or so as she comes around line. She's got to get this pacing right. You can see there's a little bit of a dip to pick up speed. You can see the acceleration there of Burnett, but it is going to be Diane Grace Burnett, your Category 4 winner in our finals, and she's going to be the first rider over the line. She's held everybody else off. What a win today in our May finals on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So great riding by Diane Grace Burnett. Behind this is the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th place on the road, but it's just as important, if not more importantly, the battle for our fastest Category 2 rider. This is about the kick for the line. We've got Maria Jose Gallego in between. She's going to take 2nd place in Category 4, but this is the fight in Category 2. Now, Olsen and Barco on the front at the moment. It looks like they've got the gap, and Olsen is kicking over the top into this slope, but behind, you can see Barco is coming at her. Barco's got the speed, she's got the pace. Can Olsen hold on? They're side by side. It's going to be Olsen. Olsen just takes it from Barco. It's going to be Antico going through behind. What a finish there. That was impeccable timing.
Yeah, absolutely superb racing in Category 2. We said it was going to be fast and furious, and we said it was going to be a sprint for the finish line, even though it was a Category 3 climb to finish today. So Category 2 giving us some fast and furious racing, but it was Burnett who stayed out. She stayed out from the start to the finish in that Category 4 race. They were the first race out of the start pens today, and Diane Grace Burnett was the first rider across the line.
Wow, fantastic racing. Category 2, quick roundup for you at the moment. These results live, unconfirmed. They are Olsen in 1, Barco in 2, Antico in 3, Barrio Serna in 4, Higuita in 5, Reynard in 6, Fioroni in 7. And it's going to be Coyson, I think, in 8th place. This is in Category 2. In Category 4, it's Burnett in 1, Gallego in 2, Barco Ossa in 3, and Ella Vink in what is going to be 4 at the moment. That's in category 4. They are the categories who have hit the line. We still have category 3 and category 1 to get to the finish.
We do indeed, and I think in category 2 it's going to be Italian coffee in 1 in the team
Gets
competition.
in, coffee wins
And
again.
I think it's going to be the What Ladies in category 4. We said they were potentially going to be unbeatable today, and I think they have indeed showed that.
And I think it was less than 10 seconds per rider separating those two teams at the finish. That is how close it was. Now, we have our 2 leading groups left on your screens. Left-hand side, the lead of Category 1, a select group of riders. We've got Maria and Daniela Marin in there. We have got Karuka Vado in there. It looks like they're being joined again here, so this group is swelling as fast as it is breaking up, with Cavado on the attack, with Maria Marin answering the charge. Is going to be all over the road at the moment, but I think it's Maria Marin who's got a slight gap at the moment. However, in category 3, Elena Lopez is the rider. She's up ahead at the moment and has got the gap, and that is on Vergara Agudelo. So at the moment, it is Elena Lopez in the blue who's at 34.81k. And remember, when she hits this right-hand turn, she's going to have a slight run down into the line that should accelerate her gap out. I don't think she's going to be caught at this stage. Great ride at the moment by Elena Lopez.
Absolutely, and coming up to the last 130 metres to go, she's going to turn around this right-hand corner, and then she's going to see that yellow banner indicating the finish line today, and that's going to be a very welcome sight, because Elena Lopez has ridden herself into first place in this Category 3 race. Ochoa and Agudelo are fighting behind, but it's Lopez coming through in first place. She's going to take the win today in Category 3.
What a great ride by Elena Lopez there. Takes the win. She has her teammate behind. Here we go, Agudelo, but it is a real battle in the fight in Category 3. Category 1, it is all over the road here. And look at this, another attack coming. We're at 35.65. We have a mere hundreds of meters to go, and we still have 5, if not 6 riders in contention. Maria Marin is the rider who is doing the damage again in that white aero helmet. The blue cap behind, you can see that this chase is coming from Geraldo Arias. It's Geraldo Arias who's on the heels, but Cavado's going to come up as well, and Cavado now pushing on here. She's going up over the top, and she's really starting to push. She's chasing Marin, but they are all over the road here. Marin, I think, is going to take it just up in front, though. So this is going to be the run for the line. Is it going to be Marin? Is it going to be Walker's? Who's going to get it? They go through the line. What a finish here. And it is going to go to Moreno, who's going to take it. It was an absolutely frantic sprint, so it shouldn't. As Moreno from Marin, from Cavado, Gerardo Arias, and Olsen on our screens. Let's take a proper look at that. Wow, what a finish.
Absolutely, and just 2 seconds separating those 4 Category 1 riders at the top of this mountain. So Moreno in 1 hour, 4 minutes and 49 seconds. Maria Marin from the Fire Girls in 2, Karuka Vado from Crank Sisters in 3, and Geraldo Arias from Risky Biscuits in 4.
Well, we're just looking to see. We've got our teams coming in Category 2, and we know it was the Italian Coffee team from the Power Girls team in that Category 2 competition. We're still seeing our riders coming through. This is going to be Madana Dega Mashandi. So it's going to be Mashandi at the moment on that last nasty kick before the right-hand turn and the run in to the finish. Let's see how those riders behind do on the result screens, but we're going to watch Mashandi come in and over the line. Great ride by Madana Dega Mashandi. Another good finish for her. She comes in and through the line. Remember, we've lots more riders out on course. All of the results will be up on the MyWhoosh website. The results at the moment are live because we have riders out on course. We will, of course, have those results turn into unofficial until they are verified, and that is when the official results will be considered final. Don't forget, please catch up on social media with MyWhoosh. It's at MyWhoosh. You can get hold of Emma. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at Biking Emma.
And you can find me, Matt Payne. It's dead easy. It's at Matt Fixer Payne. Please do get in touch if you're riding, watching, racing. Don't forget, sock pictures for Emma.
Yes.
Of you on the turbo, what socks you went. I would love to see the tech and the pain cave. And of course, we want to know how you got on as well. Make sure you take it at MyWhoosh on all of your social media because all of the team love to see our riders in action. Don't forget, we will be back for the men's race very shortly. And then after that, it will be into qualifier number 1 next week. So please do join us, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, whether you're on Twitch TV or on YouTube. So from the amazing team behind the scenes, from Emma here in the studio and from myself, Matt Payne, make sure you stay safe, enjoy your riding. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.